Hello, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cheer PT vlog and podcast. I am Laura Turner. I am the Cheer PT, and I am a physical therapist and strength coach here to help you stay healthy, stay on the mat, stay cheerleading for life as long as you can. Thank you so much for joining me back today. I'm so glad to be back. And today we're going to talk a little bit about stamina. It's something I see all the time. It's very true as cheerleaders and every sport. But in cheerleading, you need 2 minutes and 30 seconds of major stamina. That means you need to be strong. You need to be able to run. Not necessarily really run, but like your adrenaline's going. You need to be able to have enough strength, endurance, and ability to maintain safety and awareness for 2 minutes and 30 seconds straight. It's a lot of work. I think it's important to build that work off the mat. We incorporate that into our regular practices, and it will eventually get easier. With repetition comes success, and perfection. So the more you practice something, and the more you learn something, and the more you fall and then get back into it, the better it will be, because your brain learns how to do that. So learning technique and learning, memory and memorizing will all help stamina also. But where do you build your stamina to get there? Be able to get through a 2.5 hour practice, or two 2-hour practices if you're in competition season or preseason and learning routines. So where do you build that? You build that now. So right now is the summertime and you're not in practice, and it's right now 2020 and it's August 2nd. So you might be, this is just the end of the quarantine time, and you probably haven't been back into cheerleading in general. So you can't go backwards. What can we do going forward? When you're in the off season, that's your time to really build your strength and your stamina and maintain that. Doesn't mean you have to go hardcore, no. And doesn't mean you should be cheering to do that, no. It means you do different kinds of conditioning. We don't run in cheerleading, in general, for distance. But running is a great way to build your stamina. Doing sprints will build a little bit more cheer conditioning. To get into that 2 minutes and 30 second strength and conditioning role, you may need about 10 minutes. But to be able to do that for practice, you need that will help to get your heart rate up and build your conditioning and build your endurance up. You could bike ride, you could swim. It's good to actually mix them all up, because that's going to change your body and your muscle pull to help you be able to build your stamina when you're on the floor. Building your strength. That's the time to build that stamina and strength training when you're out of season. I also think it's important to train through season, but your training during season is going to be different than it is off season. If you're in all-stars, your off season is probably shorter than it is if you're a high school cheerleader. So that might vary a little bit. And if you're doing both, your off season may be like 2 weeks. Your training may have to evolve around that depending on where you're at. And I absolutely encourage, take some time off, because your body needs that chance to recover and do something different, whether it's strength training, conditioning, or, a whole other sport. That's not necessarily the realm of this discussion, but building your stamina absolutely means you have to do the work off the cheer mat. I would recommend, if you have practice in the evening, make sure you give yourself enough time in between to do your conditioning at a separate time. We all, when I was coaching, we used to do conditioning at the end of practice. We would warm up, and then we would do our conditioning at the end of practice. Looking back, I think it needed to happen, but I also think I wish my team had been a little bit more into conditioning on their own, or outside of practice, because right after practice, you're hungry, you're tired, you're not going to put your full effort in, and it's not going to do you any good in the long run. You need to put the work in outside. I know it's hard. We have school all day, or, if you're out of season, you may have a job, and, it's hard to necessarily fit that workout time in, but it's important. During season, 20 minutes might be all you need. And maybe you do some of the videos that are online and, do a quick HIIT workout, 2 or 3 times a week. You can't do HIIT workouts 7 days a week. It's not good for your body. You'll wreck your tendons, you'll wreck your bones, you'll wreck your muscles. Your body will just break down and get fatigued. So you've got to give yourself some time off. Sometimes you got to do those HIIT workouts. What's a HIIT workout? It's high intensity interval training. It's actually what we do in cheerleading. So I would recommend in season, you don't actually do more HIIT workouts. So a HIIT workout would be something like you go all out for a period of time. And that's usually a short period of time, like 30 seconds to maybe up to a minute, sometimes 2 minutes. And then you let your heart rate come down and you take a little interval and you push again. Or it could be you do like 30 seconds of jumping jacks, 30 seconds of plank, back up to 30 seconds of jumping jacks down, and then you switch it up and mix it. And you can do different conditioning, do different lengths of time depending on what the goal is for that workout. But you know, I wouldn't do more than 2 to 3 of those in an off season. And really, when you're in practice, because most of the work is that high intensity work, you're probably better off during season to actually do more conditioning and steady state work. Lower intensity, train your heart rate to cardiovascular work, so you get into like that 75% of your maximum heart rate range, which if you have questions, leave me a comment below. I'm more than happy to provide more information for you for that. Or send me an email and we can have I can email you how to figure out what's my target heart rate zone, because it varies depending on where you're at. But it's probably better to train in your cardiovascular zone, which will train your heart to pump out blood, get blood to your brain. Like, that's really good for your body, and you pretty much could do that every day. But again, you want to mix it up. If you're just talking like if you're off season building stamina, you want to train your body in different ways. Make sure that you are building strength, which is really lower heart rate, but it works your muscles differently, gets good pull on your bones to help. That's where you get your tone from, which we all want to look toned, but it's also where you get the power to be able to lift somebody. Plyometric drills are an amazing way to build some stamina into your regular routine. You may not need to do plyometrics in season, or maybe you do like less volume, so less repetitions and not as intense of plyometrics. And then in your off season, you may ramp that up and do more so that you are building power and building your endurance and building your stamina outside, and then you carry that in. Obviously, if your workouts are minimum when you're at practice, then maybe you need to add a little bit more outside. What can you do in your regular routine during season? Yes, you should still strength train twice a week. Yes, you should still do some steady state cardio and some, whether it's higher intensity, like medium to high intensity, and some lower intensity, mix that up a little bit. Stretching, mobility work. I no longer really advocate for static stretching. If you're gonna do static stretching, do it after your workout, after your warm up, after your practice, after your workout at home. You do a little stretch before you work out, just because you're sitting around and you want to work out, then you need to do some active work to get your muscles actually contracting and moving through their full range of motion, not just holding steady and holding into a stretch. Yes, if you hold a stretch for 2 minutes, you might make some length changes, but if you don't have the stability to, on the flip side, or we call them antagonistic muscles, or the muscles that even are synergistic, they help. Either the muscles that are opposed or that help with, if you don't have the stability there and you're just stretch, you're gonna lose stability, and it's actually just they're gonna clamp right down and tighten back up again. So what do I recommend instead? Is active mobility work. Taking your body through 3 planes of motion, exploring motion, finding a nice stretch, getting some eccentric length, eccentric is our muscles will, when we have 3 muscle contractions. One's an isometric, and the muscles stay here, and you don't actually create any movement with the joints, but the muscle spindles will tighten and contract. As you do a concentric, which is a shortening contraction, the muscles come in this way, and it shortens the muscle. So if you do a bicep curl, this is a concentric muscle contraction of the bicep. And then we have eccentric, which is lengthening. And the lengthening eccentric contraction happens, it basically slows a joint down. It controls the muscle, and the spindles lengthen, and then they slow and they control the motion down. Well, that's super important. Like, as you land a jump, you need that eccentric length to really be able to absorb and land. It's super important as you walk, because you need to have a full, you get the eccentric stretch to be able, once you get that stretch, it actually tells the joint like, hey, don't do that, and it starts to contract again. So that goes for everything that we do. The muscles are lengthening and shortening all the time, but it's that lengthening at the end range that it says, hey, spring back into place and let's propel you forward. And so that's really important in cheer. So doing some eccentric work and to help build that. I like to do it outside and just body weight exercises, but doing eccentric work with weights may transition into that also. But there's a lot of things you can do standing, you can do like on and off through the day, and that's stuff that you really can do all the time until you have that muscle soreness, and then you're gonna back off a little bit and then you move forward. That's how you build stamina. Gradually, over time, stay with it. Stamina building, endurance building, conditioning, strength training, that's a year-round, 24/7 process. No, that's not true. You need to take a day off. You need to let your body recover and rest. But it's something that you have to do on a regular basis, and you have to stay with. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to be to when you get on that mat and you're ready to go win that championship and come home with the gold. Or even just getting through a game, which a football game can be 4 hours long. Like, that's a ridiculous amount of time. I love football games. I think it's amazing, and I hate when football games end because I think it's so fun, like to watch the game and watch the cheerleaders and toss some stunts. But 4 hours of workout, that's a lot. If you're tossing, if your team is killing it on the field and you are doing push-ups after every touchdown, like my cheerleaders at Holy Cross, they were not happy with me one time because we were at 42 or 54 points, I think it was. And I was like, yeah, you still got to do your push-ups. Now I'm like, maybe we could have found something different because that's a lot of push-ups. I don't even know if cheerleaders do push-ups at games anymore. I don't necessarily, what I liked about them, I don't think that's a great way to build your strength and your endurance, nor do I think it's a good way to get out of your head if you come out of a stunt. I don't think doing push-ups anymore. I don't think that's, my mind has changed since that, because coming out of a stunt, you got to regroup, you got to focus. Just getting down to do push-ups is not going to necessarily make you focus. I think there could be better ways. But that's, building your endurance and your stamina, yeah, maybe it might contribute to that a little bit. Do it on the football field, what I like about the football field is it always gets people looking. Crowds, they sometimes notice when we stunt, they always notice when we're doing push-ups, especially if we're not doing them correctly. And again, that's going to come a little later. But I digress. Always I digress. Building up your stamina off the field to be able to do those push-ups is key. Do you have to do 54 push-ups in 7 increments all the way up? No. There's probably something more fun to be able to do. But, being able to do them, that's pretty amazing. And that does take stamina. Building the stamina comes off the field. So I hope that answers some questions about stamina, how to build it. I'm happy to, if you have questions about what are some other exercises you can do to help building that, please send me an email, leave me a comment below. I'm happy to, talk things through with you and see if we can plan things around. The key is build your stamina so that you can get through a routine, get through your games, and get through your practices safely without risk of injury. All right, that's the day. Hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time.